Salutations, everyone! My name is Aaron, and we find ourselves here on Tier List Maker because I figured it's about time to make a tier list on the races that I consider to be the best in World of Warcraft. Actually, we're gonna get rid of some of these tiers actually because we don't need this many tiers. Okay, so over here we're gonna do buns because there are some races, believe it or not, that are they are in fact buns. Over here we're gonna go questionable. Can I spell? No, I cannot. There we go, questionable. We're gonna go good, and then of course for the top tier, which is S tier, we're gonna go this is Warcraft, because that is what it's all about, right? So on a separate tab, or a private tab that you cannot see, actually, I do have a wiki open of all the traits that you could see, because I am not that well versed with World of Warcraft like some of these people who put thousands of hours into it. You know, I play it casually, so take this as a casual perspective. And with that said, we're gonna jump straight into it. And you know, I see no better way than to start with the undead, right? So the undead, one of the classic classes that you could play. They do have traits like Will the Forsaken, which removes any charm of fear, sleep effect. This also shares a 30-second cooldown with other similar effects. They do have Cannibalize, which you can use only on humanoid or undead corpses within 5 yards. It does heal you, as a matter of fact. They also get Touch of the Grave, which your attacks and damaging spells have a chance to drain the target, dealing certain amount of shadow damage and healing you for the same amount. You can also breathe underwater, and they do get a reduced amount of damage taken from shadow damage, which, for who aren't aware, I'm pretty sure that is both the Warlocks and Shadow Priests. But with that being said, I've always loved the undead. Undead is unironically one of my favorite races in the entire game, and for that reason I'm putting them in this Warcraft. Fight me, alright? I love the undead. Undead are great. Such an iconic class, although you don't see much of them anymore. You don't, now in the year 2026, you don't really see them that much. I'm not sure if it has to do with starting zone or whatever, therefore I just don't see them that much, and that is sad. I would love to see more undeads. Moving on, we're gonna do the Pandaren, the class released in the Massive Pandaria. I don't know, are the Dragthyr even on this list? No, actually this is previously to Dragonflight, so as a matter of fact we're gonna actually exclude the Dragthyr, if I'm saying that right. So Pandarens released in 08, 09, 010, somewhere around there, with Mr. Pandaria. Correct me if I'm wrong on that year. Pandaren come with something called Epicurean. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Also correct me on that. It's a passive that increases the stat that benefits from food by 100% because they are fat. They also get Gourmand, which increases their cooking skill by 5. Now, guys, listen. If you're picking a race purely based on an increased cooking skill, something's wrong with you, bro. You gotta get checked out, right? You gotta go see a therapist, because that as a profession is a secondary profession, and to be honest, it's kind of a waste. So Inner Peace, a passive where you will earn twice as much rested experience. Yet again, another wasted trait, because your rested experience only lasts for however how long you were logged out for. And if you're playing WoW, I'm sure you're playing it all day. I mean, just the WoW community for sure. Bouncing, another passive. You take 50% less damage from falling, and to be honest, that's not bad. But how often do you find yourself falling from high heights? Unless you're just trying to, like, you know, end yourself, or if you're in a dungeon and you're trying to take a short route and you need to take less fall damage. Quaking Palm, an instant that strikes a target with lightning speed, incapacitating for 4 seconds, and turns off your attack. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Pandarens are buns. They're buns. They're buns. This isn't like, you know, Poe from Kung Fu Panda, which I believe it was inspired from, but this isn't Poe. You don't got no whooshy finger hold, so none of that is going to save you, okay? And with that being said, let's actually go to one of another one of the classic races. Let's go with the Orc. All right, Orc is classic. You already know where it's going to go, but I'll hold it to the end. They got an instant racial called Blood Fury, which increases melee attack power by whatever amount and your spell power by whatever amount, depending on your level, and the last 15 seconds. Now, this works for everything. It says melee attacks. You could be playing an up-close shaman. You could playing a caster shaman. You could be playing a warrior, a hunter. It doesn't matter. Melee attack, spell power, it increases it. That is a really good trait, actually, just from reading it. They got a passive trait called Command, which damage dealt by pets are increased by 1%. Now, I appreciate them trying, but like 1%, man, like, jeez, bro. Like, the hunters have it rough out here, bro. And hardiness, they only have 3 compared to some of the others. Duration of stun effects reduced by an additional 20%. Now, this is really good, especially in PvP. Also, you're doing dungeons or raids, and the boss that you're fighting happens to have a couple stuns. This will come in handy, but, you know, judging based off not, you know, passes, we're going to go this is Warcraft. Just so you guys know, this isn't completely reliant on just the racial traits. This is also my opinion, and I would love to hear yours. You can leave it down below as we segue in. Yeah, the Orcs, peak Warcraft. I don't know where WoW would be without the Orcs, man. Orcs are great. I see them all the time, as a matter of fact. And with that being said, let's move on to the Draenei. Okay. The Draenei is an alliance race, right? So the Draenei come with traits called the Gift of Naru, which is an instant cast, and it goes within a 40-yard range, and it heals the target for 20% of the total health over 5 seconds. Now, obviously, this can come in clutch depending on whatever situation you're in. They also have Heroic Presence. Increases your strength, agility, and intellect by whatever amount depending on your level, but it scales with level. I don't know if that is just... Yeah, it's a passive. It's active all the time. Okay. So that's good. They got gem cutting, jewel crafting skill increased by 5 for you jewel crafters, and shadow damage taken reduced by 1, which is pretty similar, I think, to what the undead was rocking with. Now, Draenei, I don't see any male Draeneis, okay? And I think the reason is because you guys just like role-playing as these female Draeneis, going into Goldshire, and just begging for coin, begging for gold, because you just find sex appeal in these alien creatures. I'm gonna call them good. They have their place, Draenei, but for those who roleplay as those female Draeneis, you know who you are, man. We know who you are, bro. We all see through it, bro. All right, Blood Elf. I actually found this out the other day. The Blood Elf is actually the most played race in the game, which is bizarre. I would have never expected that. But they come with traits called, a passive called Arcane Affinity, which increases their enchanting skill by 5. Arcane Acuity, which is another passive, increases critical strike chance by 1%. I don't think 1% critical strike is really worth it, especially when you're in high-level endgame content. You already have good gear that increases it by however much percent you find with that gear. Arcane Resistant reduces arcane damage taken by 1%. You're gonna see a lot that a lot of these buffs and nerfs, they come in 1%. So it's, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Some of this isn't really worth like absolutely locking in or rolling a character with. And they got Arcane Turret, which removes 1 beneficial effect from all enemies within 8 yards and restores whatever amount of health of your resource, whether that be mana, rage, or energy. Blood Elf, like I said, you are by far, from what I've read online, the most played race in the game. I think they're good. I don't think that they're Warcraft. I think they're highly overrated as hell, but, you know, to each their own. To each their own. Next, let's talk about the Tauren. Yes, the nature-loving Tauren. Listen, man, Taurens, bro. Taurens are great, bro. Let me see if I can move this chart. You actually can't see this chart, so. The Tauren. Okay, Tauren. They have a passive called Brawn, which they increase their critical strike bonus and damage and healing by 2%. Okay, 2 is better than 1. That is, I mean, that's still not anything crazy, 2%, but, you know, it can get the job done in specific situations. They also got a passive called Cultivation, which increases your herbalism skill by 5 and deafness by 25%. Deafness allows you to gather herbs more quickly. Now, I'm not sure if that's meaning like the actual cast time, the channel time to collect the herbs, or if they just give you more herbs every time you pick one. And they also have endurance, increases your stamina by whatever your level is, scales with level. Nature resistance. Now, here's another passive, and we're probably going to be like going over this a lot about how all these like races have passives that increase or decrease damage taken by 1%. And like I said before, I'll say it again. I'll probably say it a million times in this video. Picking a race because something gives you a 1% buff is never worth it. Even if you're trying to maximize your class, what is 1% really going to do for you? And they also have War Stomp, which stuns 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds. Now, this can be clutch. This can be clutch, man. I do see a lot of Taurens, actually. Not as much as I do the Blood Elves. But Taurens, man, I feel safe putting them in good, man. Taurens, bro. Taurens are good people, bro. I've met some really nice Taurens, bro. They're always very good. All right, man. Let's move on to the Trolls. Yet another classic Warcraft race. So the Trolls. Now, they come with traits, a passive called Beast Slaying. Experience gained from killing beasts increased by 20%. Berserking, which is an instant cast, which increases your melee range and spell haste by 15% for 10 seconds. Now, unless you're just questing and you're playing like a casting class, like a mage or a warlock or a priest for that matter, I don't really see how this is going to come into much play for you. Maybe playing PvP. The Voodoo Shuffle, which is a passive, which reduces the duration of all movement and parrying effects by 20%. And of course, you have their passive Regeneration. Health regeneration rate increased by 10%. 10% of total health regeneration may continue during combat. This is clutch. This is clutch. I can't express enough how important this is, regeneration. Now, and the fact that it's a passive, you can heal during combat, guys. Like, now, you know, traits aside, we're gonna put the Trolls into This Is Warcraft, man. I mean, it's absolute cinema, man. Absolute cinema. And while we're on that, let's talk about the Worgens, all right? Now, Worgens, an alliance race that released with Cataclysm alongside the Goblins, right? So, there's the Worgen, all right? So they come with traits called Running Wild, which is a 1.5 second cast, which you drop to all fours to run as fast as a wild animal. Now, at the time of this release, this was seen as pretty cool because if you weren't high enough for a mount at the time, you can summon yourself as a mount to run on all fours, but this is completely useless, and I actually play a Worgen mage as my main, and I end up actually never using this because you can't use it in specific dungeons because Running Wild is actually considered as a mount spawn. So if you're running in a dungeon or a raid that prohibits, that doesn't allow mounts, you can't even use this. So it's actually a waste of an ability as I start to, like, you know, crap on my my main race. We got Darkflight, which is an instant Activate your true form, increasing movement speed by 40% for 10 seconds. Okay. Now, this is just a speed buff. You don't run on all fours. This is just a standing humanoid walk. Run, I should say. It's a 2-minute cooldown. You do increase your speed by 40%. So, it's nice to have. Viciousness, a passive. Increases critical strike chance by 1%. We already talked about it. 1% is not worth rolling. You know, it's not worth rolling for a build. And then we have Flare, which is also another passive, which increases your skinning skill by 5 and deafness by 25. Deafness allows you to skin more quickly. Now, this actually comes in handy for me, but just because that's the case for me, I'm not going to make it the case just as a general vibe here. Because like I said before, I don't think increasing something by 5 means anything. I mean, especially for professions, you can actually like level up your professions pretty fast in retail now in the big 2026. And I'm just lucky enough to pick skinning, and it wasn't because I had Flare. You know, you just find a lot of beasts around Azeroth, so you could pretty frequently skin some beasts. And then they have Aberration, which is a passive which reduces shadow and nature damage. Now, unlike the others, they do have 2 buffs when it comes to taking less damage, but you know, that's not enough. It's not enough. It is not enough. So we're going to put the Worgens in good. If I had to reorganize these, I would actually put the Tauren up front. And just because I don't like the Blood Elves. I don't like the Blood Elves. And I also have a bias against Tauren Worgen, so. Alright, guys. We're going to get into some hot takes here, right? And we're going to talk about the gnomes, the pesky little gnomes. We have a Valkyrie here for some reason. That's an allied class, but we'll throw them in anyway. But the gnomes, listen, we see through your act, man. If you're playing a gnome in the big 2026, what are you doing? All right. Now, we know why you picked a gnome or a goblin or a Valkyra for that matter, right? You picked them for that small hitbox because you are a PvP menace, bro. We see through it, bro. So if this is you, you know, I do respect the hustle, man. I respect it, but gnomes, man, they're going in buns, bro. I don't even have to go over their racial traits. And for that matter, we're going to throw the goblins in there and the Valkyra. Stay out of my lobby. Stay out of my PvP lobbies. You know, I try to avoid you at all costs. And you could sit there in the timeout under the tier of buns, all right? All right, guys. And we have 3 left, and these are all classic races, and I think we're gonna start with the dwarves. Okay, dwarves, one of the classic races in WoW Classic. All right, they got traits, a passive such as Explorer, where you find additional fragments when looting archaeological finds, and you can survey faster than normal archaeologists. What a waste. Frost resistance, reduce frost damage taken by 1. I've said it a million times. These 1% buffs don't really do much for you. Might of the Mountain, a passive. Critical strike bonus damage and healing increased by 2. I still don't think that is enough for a roll on this race. And then Stone Form, which is actually one of the best racial traits in the game. It's an instant cast, removes all poison, disease, curse, magic, and bleed effects, and reduces all physical damage taken by 10% for 8 seconds. Okay, need I say more? That alone puts him in the top tier, but you know, this is Warcraft, man. Dwarves, man, I don't like I said for the orcs, I don't know where Warcraft would be with the orcs, bro. Orcs are awesome, bro. Legendary races. Moving forward, let's talk about the humans, right? The humans. This is like the most vanilla class you could play. I think it might actually be one of the highest played races on the Alliance side, coming with their first racial, which is an instant cast. It removes all stun effects. Just removes them all. Very solid. Diplomacy. A passive. Reputation gains increase by 10%. Now, if you're doing your endgame content, or whatever content you're doing, now that the game is live right now with Midnight, this will come in handy for sure. And the human spirit, one of the most important and best racial traits in the game. You get 2% to all the secondary stats that include haste, critical strike, mastery, and versatility. Now, I know what I said about the 1%ers, but you're getting 2% to not just one category. Not 2, not 3, but 4. Alright? So, even though human is a vanilla type of class, it's going to the top, bro. It's going into this is Warcraft. And as I flip these around, we're actually gonna put this over here. And then we're left with 1. Last man standing, we have the Night Elf, okay? The Night Elf, similar to the Blood Elf, you see a lot of these characters, and most of you are female, you know? Not real female in the real world, you know, in actual life. A lot of you are males. Sitting at home behind your computer, playing as a female, begging for coin. So, they start with Elusive, a passive. Increases your speed while stealth. Now, I don't really see much use to this. They have nature resistance, like I said with these 1%ers. Reduce nature damage taken by 1. They got quickness, a passive. Increases your chance to dodge melee and range attacks by 2% and your movement speed by 2%. This is clutch. This is really clutch. Those long battles in PvP and those long battles in raids and dungeons, these definitely can come in clutch, and they have Shadow Meld, an instant. Activates to slip into the shadows, reducing the chance for enemies to detect your presence. Lasts until canceling or upon moving. Any threat is restored versus enemies still in combat upon cancellation of this effect. Now, for those who don't know, every character comes with a stealth rating. Regardless what class you play, it doesn't just have to be rogue. So your stealth rating scales with your level. And if you notice, when you're a low level, like a level 1 through 10 or 1 through 20, you'll notice that enemies can detect you from further. But as you scale levels and you get to like 90, which is the case with Midnight, the current cap, you can almost be right on top of an enemy and they won't spot you. Because your stealth rating is up. So Shadow Meld, it's useless in the big 2026, alright? Now we have the Touch of a Loon, which is a Night Elf racial passive, which increases your haste by 1%, increases your critical strike by day, the haste by night. It's a cool play on it with the yin and yang, but it ain't worth it. Then Wisp Spirit transforms into a wisp upon death, increasing speed by 75%. Now, if you're dying during questing, something's wrong with you, alright? You know, you can't, you know... It's not even worth in dungeons and raids, because when you release your spirit, you're just back alive. So, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, bro. These racial traits are buns, bro. They're buns. They are buns. But the class itself is Warcraft, but I don't think it's good enough to be in top tier. But I will put it right behind the Tauren. So we have nothing unquestionable. Actually, as a matter of fact, we will put we'll put the pandas in questionable, because I do want to fill that slot. I don't want to leave it open. Actually, nope. Screw the panda. We're just going to remove this, okay? We're going to move this row. We got buns, good, and this is Warcraft. Now that you see my list, I would love to hear yours down below. My name is Aaron, and this list, it's my list. So, like I said, let me hear yours. And, yeah, I can't wait to get lost with you again in the near future. So long, everyone.